Hi everyone, my name is Pian Pian. I'm the founder and CEO of Amotions. Amotions is a platform to help you and your team and your managers to be more effective and help you improve your performance, relationships, and soft and leadership skills. Today, we're very excited to have certified leadership and career coach Julie with us. Julie, thank you so much for joining, and thanks again for sharing the insights in advance.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Julie, besides having multiple years of extensive experience coaching leaders and their teams in the career and leadership development space, she also has extensive leadership experience working at companies such as Microsoft. Julie, is there anything else you would like to add for your self introduction?
I think that you've got the most of it. I mean, in essence, what I do in my work is that I help leaders get great jobs. And so, whether that's going through a career change or certainly for those that are internal, they're looking for that great role internally and or the promotional growth. And so I love working with leaders in all of the above spaces.
That's great. I think everyone likes to keep growing, and that's a very important area to help people with. So, yeah, thank you. So, Julie, I heard that you're writing a book on voicing your values. Curious, what makes you excited about that topic, and what kind of insights you would like to share on that topic?
Well, yes, thank you. I am in the process of doing that. And it's actually been a decades long desire for me. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story that actually came to be. I was at an event and they had a palm reader at this event. And I went and I thought, oh, that would be a cool thing to do. And she read my palm and she looked me right in the eyes and she said, "Are you a writer?" And I said, "Well, no." And she's like, "You need to be." She's like, "You have a message." And so that was a seed that stuck in the back of my mind for such a long time. And I guess I didn't really know what I wanted to focus that writing on. I do love to write in general, but to channel it into a book. And so for me, in doing the coaching work that I've done, one of the things that I've learned from leaders that they tell me in these confidential conversations is that the place they most of the time they don't struggle so much with what they want to do. Most leaders, at least the ones that I work with, they have a pretty strong vision of what it is that they want, whether it's that promotional growth or whether they want to move into a new role that's more fulfilling to them. The place that they struggle is how to do that and how to communicate themselves and how to position themselves for that thing that they've been dreaming about for many years. And so this was something that I started paying attention to probably really seriously a couple of years back because I started to notice the trends in the conversations that I was having. And it's definitely a area where I have a background of expertise and a passion as well. And so part of the coaching work that I do is helping clients really be able to articulate themselves and what they want to do, or as I like to say, voice their value. And so that's where the book came to be because it was just the topic was really an important one that came up from a majority of my clients. So yes, it's in process. I'm excited about it. In the writing process right now and to be published probably in the beginning of 2023.
Well, we're excited to read about the book and learn more about it as it comes to the world. It's have as a preview, like in a specific scenario. Do you have examples like how a leader can or individual can handle voicing their values and what they're kind of like dreaming about, passionate about?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm actually doing a extended workshop over a set of 4 weeks coming
Mm.
up next month, actually. So you don't have to wait for the book. If this is something that's on your mind, I would definitely not encourage you to wait until 2023 to be able to learn the skills. Essentially, the process is that I work with on my clients to be able to come up with the ability to communicate your value and to articulate your differential. it really boils down to 5 steps. So the first one, I think the first 2 are kind of blended together, and that's to be able to have words to describe who you are as a leader. And in 2 key areas, one is knowing your core values, because that's really, in essence, words that describe who you are, like passionate, like disciplined, like high integrity, things like that would be descriptions of core values. And then the second piece is really being able to name your core strengths. I actually like to call them your superpowers, which are really these elevated short list of the things that you're really good at and that give you energy when you're doing them. So knowing your values and and naming your strengths is necessary in order to get to the third step, which is being able to have a framework to define your, what I call your value prop, or your brand statement. And so that's a framework that I help my clients to build out for themselves that really summarizes in one sentence who they are professionally. Like, I'm a passionate sales executive, for example. What they do, and this is a big one because people get a little vague typically, but being able to really articulate what it is that you do as in this example, a sales professional. So that might be driving revenue, that might be increasing market share, that might be customer or partner satisfaction. So really getting clear on what is it that the impact is that you bring. And then the last part of the sentence is the how you do it, collaborative partnerships or an epic attention to detail. So basically you're customizing in one sentence this value prop for yourself. And so that's another step in the process. The other thing that I do work with clients on that is huge, that would be step 4, is really understanding many of those key things that diminish your confidence. This is something that comes up for a lot of people because they may know their strengths, they may know their value and their value prop and have that written for themselves, but they feel like they are an imposter. So imposter syndrome comes up. Or maybe they're really worried about the competition. And so they kind of have a fear underneath it of looking like a fool or looking stupid. And so they may resist or kind of back off or even not be able to communicate themselves with confidence because there's some worries in the back of their mind. So really having some skills or tools to be able to know why this is happening and what to do about it is huge. And then the last piece, of course, is being able to just have a script. Like, this is what I realize with a lot of clients, even those at super high levels in organization, directors, general managers, et cetera, is that sometimes it's not knowing who they are or even have a value prop. They just don't know what to say in a interview conversation or a networking conversation. So having some sample scripts is huge. And then, last thing that I would say about the whole process is practice makes perfect. So having someone, this happens a lot. Like, you think you have it perfectly scripted out for yourself, but there's a very different thing when you actually are saying it out loud to someone that really elevates it. So having a trusted colleague, a mentor, a best friend that you can practice what you're saying and get trusted and safe feedback is incredibly, incredibly helpful. So that's kind of at a glance, the quick process that helps people really be able to get to the place where they can really confidently voice their value.
Thank you. That sounds like a really good process. So I like the 5 steps and kind of start with understanding and having the awareness of who you are, what your core value and you're passionate about, and then being able to summarize it and then practice it with colleagues and friends. Yeah.
This is the piece that is important with the values and the strengths, is those are your differentiators. Sometimes what I find that a lot of leaders that I work with do is they end up kind of blending themselves in using a lot of corporate lingo. And that may be easy to do because it's like, oh, I'm a strategic leader driving success, like these. But the problem is that when you're using a lot of corporate lingo, then it ends up kind of just blending and blurring into what everybody else says too. And so That's why it's really powerful to have some really core words that are true for you, because it really differentiates you and you can build that into your value prop.
That's a great point. And I like your part about practice makes perfect. Part of what we're building at Emotions is create a community and a platform for people to practice with each other. So you can also get like feedback from the community members, not just your friends and colleagues. So if you want more honest feedback from everyone else, yeah.
That is one of the biggest things that my clients tell me, because I too have a group format when I'm working with clients. And some of the most powerful feedback that they get is from their peers, just like what you've created in that community. So
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about the careers and the stakes and the roles for multiple people, tens, 20s, 100 people in your organization. You want to be able to come in prepared and confident and have the right level of expertise. As it relates to the individuals on your team,
Mm-hmm.
then that is very much a priority, especially right now with what is happening with the Great Resignation. Retention is a really big deal. And people will leave organizations not as much because the job wasn't right or the pay wasn't what they want, but one of the number one reasons is because of management or poor management, as the case might be.
That's
And
true.
so really showing up and being present and holding those one-on-ones and having those career development discussions and really advocating and supporting your individual team members' growths and having a growth plan, career development plan, and actually having a plan and a process for doing that, those are the ones where you're going to have loyal team members that will follow you and will essentially be fully engaged in the work that they're doing. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with mid-level and higher level managers who are leaving their organization or they want to leave their job largely because of, in their words, dysfunctional leadership or unsupportive or disengaged or non-existent management.
Right.
So it's really key to be able to have that, prioritize that, which can be really hard. I get it. Like there's a lot of priorities for a lot of companies. Their directors and leaders and managers aren't just responsible for the leading and directing and managing. They're also responsible for a whole set of deliverables and commitments their own self as well. So
That's right.
I don't underestimate how challenging that is from a balancing act, but knowing that prioritizing the individual development of your team members is so critical, because retention is very real, especially right now.
Right. Um, how does that work when somebody wants the promotion that the company or the organization wouldn't be able to afford to provide a promotion right now, and or if somebody's interest in a particular working on like a project they think it's exciting, but there are people who needs to work on some projects that might be less like new projects. So how would you suggest, like as an individual, to think about that, and also as their managers to think about these things?
It's a great question. And I actually did an entire 2-part workshop for a team in organization in Seattle in the healthcare industry on this topic. And so in essence, my guidance to them was to think about the word growth from a career standpoint in a broader definition than just a promotion. And so that's a very real situation, especially with smaller or mid-sized organizations, is that they just don't have a lot of positions open, even if they have these rock star A-list team members on the team. And so if you're looking for career development and career growth, then really thinking about that growth from a broader standpoint than just getting a promotion. So such as, can I develop this new skill? Do I want to develop this new competency, these set of responsibilities? And so thinking about expanding your skill set as a way of growing, and also being proactive in the process, and perhaps I'll say advocating for yourself versus waiting for your manager to just find you a great role. That's a
Mm-hmm.
huge part of the process, is this really coming from this place of self-advocacy. What can I do? And so there may be a level of being patient, but if you're continuing to advocate for yourself, then when that position does open up, that you would likely be one of the first people in line, particularly if you've developed the skills. And so that kind of goes both ways, both from a management, an individual contributor looking for
Mm-hmm.
growth, as well as the manager. From a management standpoint, there's a broader perspective too. So yes, it's encouraging your team members, having a process, encouraging them to come up with a plan versus just relying on you to like give them a promotion. That usually doesn't land so well in a
Mm-hmm.
manager's eyes. But there may also be a process of letting go. And what I mean by that is, if you have an A-list rock star
Mm-hmm.
player on your team that is so capable of more, and your organization just doesn't have the opportunity, and that person is very, very driven in their own professional career, they may end up moving to a different division, or they may end up leaving the company and going to another position. And so instead of trying to control it and keep that person in their role or pacify them with some promises that you may or may not be able to deliver on,
Mm-hmm.
that you are supporting them in their growth, even if that means that they end up leaving the company. And that can be a really, really tough message,
Right.
but it's really supporting that person's growth to the best that you have ability to do so. I've talked to leaders who have actually created positions in the organization and
Mm.
have gone to bat for their A-list players because they know how valuable they are to the organization. So essentially, it's looking at a lot of creative, different kinds of solutions to keep your top talent on your team.